Davis Mills was asked, they bring in Stroud as the second overall pick. What do you see as your role? How will you help him make the transition?
Still, I'm competing for that starting job. I mean, since I've been drafted in the NFL, I've been in a competition. I don't think anything's going to change, but I mean, it's been great getting to know CJ so far. He's an extremely hard worker, and it'll be good to see how we go out there and compete every day and make each other better.
So that was the one that got a lot of attention, and I think maybe it was just the way that it hits the headline or it hits the tweet or wherever you consume it. I think it came off to a lot of people like like Davis was consciously distancing himself from being a mentor, or like he had said, hey, I'm not here to be a mentor. I'll be honest with you, even if he had said, I'm not here to be a mentor, I think, number one, I think very few people want him to be a mentor, so I wouldn't waste any energy getting upset about it. Two, it's that I think it's been presented to him as compete for this job and, push CJ. I don't know if he's been told explicitly, if you're in the job, you'll get it. But I do think that there is something about Bobby Slowick and DeMeco Ryan's experience in San Francisco where they've seen multiple guys come in and learn the system and do a good job. Bobby Slowick was in Washington with Kirk Cousins and RG3, saw the way that played out, that I don't think that they're just blanket writing off Davis Mills. I think they're going to try to allow it to be a competition. I think Davis is just more CJ's just more talented in a lot of ways that will be impossible to ignore. And I expect him to win this, and it'll be a tilted competition, obviously. I think CJ Stroud has a much brighter future. I think Davis, I will be surprised if he ever becomes a full-time starter in the NFL, but I'm A-okay with him wanting to compete for a starting job right now. What specifically are you working on? And then on the difficulty of going into your third offensive system.
A lot of different offenses across the league run similar concepts. They're just calling them different things. So
yeah, he was asked about the difficulty of adapting to this system.
Some of it is just kind of getting rid of all the old verbiage and figuring out the new terminology. And then a lot of the other stuff, too, is just learning from the new coaches, the new guys we have in the room, and finding ways to get better.
I went to Stanford, dude. That's what he's saying. Do you think, hey, I went to Stanford and graduated with a degree in some kind of business or economics or something. Do you think this is hard? I got to learn how to what we number the holes in this system versus other systems. They're all holes.
That's what I like.
We had a coach once that came in. I don't know, every system I've ever been in, like the holes are like 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7 on offense. And this guy came in and he numbered them. He numbered them like from right to left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is like a total brain screw, right? So like when something was called like 32, it was to way out there. But like 38 would be way to your left. It was weird, man. I know a certain percentage of you listening right now know what I'm talking about. I apologize to everybody else who didn't have to live through that. Made a lot of mental errors. I wasn't like Davis Mills. Your third coach in 3 years. What's your account of DeMeco Ryan so far?
What it's like to go through a training camp practice in this heat. He knows how to take care of his guys, but then he also knows what it needs to be done to put in the work and come out there and win games. And that's kind of spread around the locker room, and we feel the fire that comes from him. And I mean, it's been good. The guys have a lot of respect, and we're excited to play for him.
Fire, energy, hair on fire. I like the buzzwords this year more so than I feel like DeMeco's using these words a lot, and it's filtering into what the guys are saying. And hopefully DeMeco has some good PowerPoint presentations, because there's nothing better as an NFL player than having a coach who does a bunch of the same PowerPoints all the time. Because then whenever you go to speak in public, they're like imprinted in your brain. For a long time, I had like 5 different Dom Capers speeches just planted in my brain through seeing them on PowerPoint multiple times. And I would give them up and deliver them pretty much exactly like Dom Capers would. I wasn't invited back a lot. How is his relationship with Gerard Johnson in the locker room so far?
Gerard, I actually went to a quarterback camp with him when he was working the Elite 11 circuit back when I was in high school.
So he's talking about Gerard Johnson.
So I've known him for years now, and then Bobby's been great getting to know. He's another guy you can tell who's put in hours and hours studying defenses. I know he's worked on the defensive side of the ball, so he even has more insight than what a strictly offensive coach would have. So,
that's interesting. That is a good point about Bobby Slowick, because he's done different things. I mean, he worked at Pro Football Focus, which whatever your feelings are about Pro Football Focus, the grades are usually the big issue because there's some idiosyncrasies there. But as far as the research they do kind of go deep dive into stuff in a way that not necessarily a lot of coaches ever do. So I think that he can look at the game from having been on the defensive side of the ball, having been the son of a coach, having worked outside of football, kind of like James Click started off at Baseball Prospectus, and I think it gave him a different view of things. Then like that part of it, and I think that's something that appeals to D'Amico. Those two kind of came up together as coaches. They were both at the bottom of the totem pole at the beginning. I think that's something D'Amico appreciates and feels like, okay, you can bring something different to the table. You can give these guys a different tool set, a different toolbox, because you've just seen things differently. But the defensive understanding what stresses a defense is a seemingly simple thing that actually some offensive coaches don't get. They don't realize some of the simple things that stress a defense. Oh no! This is a good one. How would you describe what last year was like for you? He says a big learning experience. Obviously, the record was what it was.
We wanted to win more games, and I think it led to some of the decisions that we ended up having to make as an organization this offseason. But
okay, yeah, I don't know if that's distancing. Is he distancing himself there from responsibility or culpability for the way the season went? I don't know. I'm trying not to overthink it.
Yeah, a ton of stuff we talk about in that offense is finding ways to create yards after catch for the receivers.
So he's talking about, he was asked, what is the Bobby Slowick offense like?
Fire off the ball in our inside and outside zone run scheme, using our big athletic linemen, getting out on the edge and getting our playmakers out on the edge, and then also setting up play action or just ways in the drop back game to get our guys out there in space with the ability to run after catch. And I mean, it's been exciting so far. We've been pushing the tempo a lot, being aggressive with timing and anticipation and on our side as a quarterbacks, and really trying to emphasize to those guys on the edge that we're playing fast and we're going to run by people this year.
We're going to run by people this year. There you go, Davis. That's an old team spirit. I think that if there's one word I would use to describe Kyle Shanahan offense or Gary Kubiak in its prime or Mike Shanahan, it's greedy. And remember Alex Gibbs, the offensive line coach, he used to talk about wanting to lead the league in big runs every year, runs 20 yards and greater. They wanted to lead the league in the number of those runs. They're very, very greedy. It's not enough to just run for 5 yards. Certainly not enough to run for 3 yards in a cloud of dust. When things are operating properly, they want huge, huge runs. That's why it's such a big deal that receivers be willing to block downfield. That's how you break those big runs. That's how you get the run after catch. The shot plays and the ability to do those are the reason you're able to get the run after the catch on throws over the middle to Tank Dell. So it's greedy, and it's more and it's more and it's more all the time. So like the old Michael Douglas greed is good. That's what these guys are. They're greedy. And when it's done right, it's really, really cool because they're greedy as hell. Like a bunch of 1880s capitalists up in there.